Some things are within our control, while others are not. Our opinions, preferences, desires and aversions, that is, everything that is intrinsically linked to our actions, are under our control. On the other hand, elements such as the body, wealth, reputation and authority, that is, everything that is not intrinsic to our actions, are beyond our control. Thus begins the manual or life guide of the renowned Greek philosopher. If you want to live a fulfilling life with less soul distress, you must understand what is in your control and what is not. Our duty is to direct our energy towards what we can control and ignore what is not within our control. One of the biggest challenges a human being can face is the opinions and judgments of other people, and it is practically inevitable to be affected, whether positively or negatively, by them. To avoid being affected, it is essential to understand that other people's opinions, insults, or personal attacks are not under your control. In the Life Manual, we learn how to deal with offenses. Therefore, the objective of this video is to extract the teachings from this famous life manual to achieve a mental state that allows us to reduce or eliminate the suffering caused by other people's judgments. Through 7 principles taken from Epictetus' manual, you will learn why you shouldn't worry about external feelings and how to reach a state where opinions cannot harm you. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the valuable content we're preparing for you. Principle 1. Offenses are not intrinsically harmful. Therefore, if someone provokes you, remember that it is your own opinion that is initially disturbed. Try not to get carried away by appearances, as with time and calm, it will be easier to maintain control over yourself. One of the keys to not caring about the opinions of others is to understand that insult or offense is not intrinsically harmful. The emotional discomfort that accompanies the insult really depends on how we process that insult. When someone belittles you or disrespects you, consider that this insult will only hurt you if you allow it. If you react negatively, a person's true worth should be measured by how much they can tolerate negativity. Unfortunately, that's life. If you feel insulted or offended, ask yourself, do I want to win or lose? Do I want to give in to what I can't control? Let's draw a parallel with Stoicism and pleasures. If we want to stop being influenced by them, we must not fight them, as they will never disappear. The difference is in how we process this desire. Whether we completely surrender to it or ignore it. This way, if you manage not to be upset by the insult, the satisfaction you feel afterwards will make you superior and capable of moving forward steadily in the face of adversity. Surely you're thinking about that time a negative comment ruined your day or week, despite your best efforts. Let me say that I understand how you feel, as we have all been in this situation at some point. If this is your case, I recommend you keep watching, as in the next principles we will cover self-control. Principle 2. Maintain firm purposes. In this principle, we must understand that if we want to avoid being affected by the opinions of others, we must prepare ourselves from the beginning to be ridiculed and suffer scorn from the crowd. If we set out to understand philosophy, be prepared to hear people say, "He suddenly became a philosopher," or "Where does this arrogant attitude come from?" Make sure you don't adopt this arrogant attitude and stay strong in the things that contribute to your well-being. Remember, if you stand firm on your stance, the same people who used to ridicule you will end up admiring you. But if you allow yourself to be convinced by others, you will be ridiculed twice. Those who wish to become philosophers. Even if you don't want to become a philosopher, this principle proposed by the Greek can be applied to any other aspect of our lives. This principle is essential as many people neglect their true talents just to please dissenting voices. What Epictetus tells us is that if we allow our purpose to be influenced by fear of the opinions of others, we will not fail because we try and fail, but because we give in to the opinions of others. We should not interpret this as a failure, but as a real problem. When a person gives up just to avoid social conflict or to prevent others from giving their opinion about them, it is worth persevering. Even if there is mockery or questioning for a while. After all, as you move forward, you will be living in accordance with your own nature. I recommend that you think about this whenever you need to make a decision in your life. Consider your priorities and understand the real reason behind your choices. Principle 3. Don't worry if someone talks bad about you. Don't let the thought of living with dishonor and being insignificant anywhere disturb you. If not receiving honors were a negative thing, then others would have the power to make us unhappy, but that's not how things work. The truth is that you are someone only in the things that are under your control and that depend on your decisions. This principle is highly relevant today. How often have you done something you didn't really want to do just to get someone's approval, especially on social media? Social validation on these platforms can be harmful to a person. We must ask ourselves if it is worth changing who we really are just to get a little satisfaction. Is it worth putting our emotional well-being in the hands of others? My answer is clear: I don't recommend you do it. We've all been in situations where we did something that embarrassed us, but we didn't have bad intentions. At some point, why should we care if they laugh at you or marginalize you in terms of popularity? Do you really believe that your happiness depends on how popular you are? If you live this way, you will be constantly in conflict because your happiness is not in your control. Therefore, you will live in constant tension, changing your essence so as not to lose status. One of the essential points of Stoicism is to only worry about what is under your control and become indifferent to what is not. As for insults, remember that no one can harm you unless you allow them to. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they act out of the belief that they are right to do so. It's not possible for everyone to act according to what you think is right, but that doesn't mean it's not right for them. Therefore, if someone judges you based on an erroneous impression, it is he who is harmed by his error. Therefore, tolerate the person who insults you with patience and repeat to yourself that this is just what they think. Principle 4. Exercise high control so that an insult does not turn into an offense. As Epictetus said, we should have the same respect for our minds as we do for our bodies. I'm sure you wouldn't allow a stranger into your home every day knowing it would pose a threat. However, when we receive an insult and process it as an offense, we allow that person to enter our mind and stay there for a few days. Why do we allow strangers into our minds when we would never let them into our homes? To reach a state in which we ignore the negative feelings arising from an insult, discipline and self-control must be cultivated. This should be applied to all life situations, including family interactions. When you are angry, control that emotion, as it will prevent a lot of unnecessary suffering and make you feel more comfortable with yourself. Trust me, it will make a significant change in your life. Principle 5. Act according to your best judgment. We should not feel ashamed of being seen to act in accordance with our principles, even if others may form the wrong idea of what we are doing. This applies to social media use, where we often allow our happiness to depend on the popularity or validation of others. This leads us to act to please them instead of going our own way. Principle 6. Don't worry if someone talks bad about you. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they act on the assumption that they have reason to do so. But you can't think that everyone would act according to what feels right to you but not to them. Therefore, if they are judging based on a mistaken impression, they are the ones harmed by their error. Based on these principles, tolerate the person who judges you with patience. Principle 7. No one can harm you. Through this seventh principle, we analyze the motivation of the sender of the insult. What it tells us is that we cannot expect everyone to agree with what we consider right or our worldview. This way of thinking can be very harmful. We must consider the following reflection: is it really viable to believe that everyone has the same point of view as you? Thinking like this is quite naive. Therefore, if someone insults you by believing that they know the truth about you, consider this: you know who you are, what you think, why you act, and why you do what you do. The only one who knows the truth about you is yourself. Therefore, in the event that a stranger insults you in some way, you should ask yourself the following questions: did I act wrongly? If the answer is no, ask yourself if you can get inside their mind and understand the reason for the insult. Clearly you can't. Therefore, in case you have acted correctly and faced ignorance regarding the motivation of the insult, you should feel content. The person who knows him best in the world, if he has acted correctly, should not bear the burden of regret, as Epictetus stated. That's what they seem to think. In conclusion, I would like to close with this lesson from Epictetus: How long do you plan to delay becoming worthy of the greatest progress and following the teachings of reason that you have already received? You have already received the philosophical principles with which you should be familiar. What other master are you waiting for to start improving? You are no longer a teenager, but an adult. Therefore, if you continue to be negligent, lazy, and constantly putting things off, making excuses and postponing the day when you will dedicate yourself to yourself, life will pass you by while you remain ignorant until the day you die. What is your opinion about the video? Let me know in the comments. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on the valuable content we're preparing for you. Thank you and see you in the next video.